Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into a topic that's absolutely exploding right now, how the insurance industry is using AI to not just keep up, but get ahead.
And it's more exciting than it might sound at first, right? Because this impacts all of us.
Big time. We've
Yeah.
been digging into this source material, and it's dense, but honestly, it's eye-opening how much change is happening.
What I found fascinating is how it's not just about tech, it's about the massive challenges insurers are facing, which, let's be real, affect all of us who rely on insurance.
Exactly. It's like we all know insurance can be complicated, but this deep dive revealed a whole other level.
For sure. One of the biggest takeaways for me was the sheer competitiveness of the market. I mean, think about how many insurance ads you see every day.
It's constant. And that pressure to stand out from the crowd, that's where the customer experience becomes crucial.
Absolutely. If you're bombarded with options, what makes you pick one insurer over another? It often boils down to how well they treat you, how easy they make the process.
Which makes perfect sense. But beyond just competing for customers, insurers are also battling some pretty serious threats, like fraud. I mean, that was a recurring theme in the material.
Oh, absolutely. Fraud is huge in this industry, and it gets more complex with every new tech platform, every digital tool they implement.
It's a bit scary when you think about it, all that sensitive personal data floating around. And speaking of data, the source material dives deep into regulations, especially GDPR.
Right, because that's the other side of the coin. You've got incredible potential with AI, but also huge responsibility.
Totally. To be honest, I wasn't totally clear on GDPR before this deep dive. What exactly is it, in a nutshell?
So GDPR stands for General Data Protection Regulation. It's basically a set of rules from the European Union to give people more control over their personal data.
Okay, that makes sense. But how does it apply to companies outside of Europe?
That's the thing, it's not just a European thing anymore. Many companies worldwide have to comply because they do business with EU citizens or store data on servers located there.
So it's about protecting people's privacy no matter where they are.
Exactly. And for insurers, this is critical. It's not just about avoiding fines, it's about building trust with customers.
Which is essential in this age of data breaches and privacy concerns. People want to know their information is safe.
100%. And this ties into another major challenge the source material highlights: modernization.
Right, because insurers can't just rely on old methods in this digital age.
Exactly. They have to adapt, embrace new tech, and meet those evolving customer expectations. It's like they're becoming tech companies in their own right.
And that's where AI comes into play. Not as some futuristic concept, but as a tool to tackle these very real challenges.
Exactly. It's about using AI to combat fraud, stay compliant, and offer the seamless experiences customers expect today.
And when we talk about AI and insurance, one term that kept popping up in the source material was conversational intelligence. Honestly, I wasn't super familiar with that. What exactly does it mean?
It's a great question. It's kind of what it sounds like, right? But taken to another level. It's AI that can understand not just the words we're saying, but the meaning behind them.
Okay, so like not just recognizing speech, but actually interpreting it the way humans do.
Exactly. It's about picking up on those subtle cues, the tone of voice, the emotion behind the words, even things like hesitation.
So how did that actually play out in the insurance world? Give us some concrete examples.
So one that really struck me was the ability to identify customers who might be thinking about canceling their policies before they even say anything directly.
Wait, seriously? Just by analyzing their conversations?
Yep. Let's say a customer calls in and the AI detects more negative language than usual, maybe frustration in their tone, or they just sound unenthusiastic. That could be a red flag.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. It's like the AI has a sixth sense for customer churn. But what happens then? Do they just flag the customer and move on?
Not at all. This is where it gets really interesting. Companies can use this to be proactive. Maybe a customer service rep reaches out, addresses their concerns, smooths things over.
That's really smart. It's one thing to have data, but actually using it to improve the experience is key.
Absolutely. And it goes beyond just preventing people from leaving. This same technology can identify upselling and cross-selling opportunities too.
So, for example, if someone calls about their car insurance, the AI could pick up on cues that they're also interested in home insurance and flag that for the agent.
Exactly. It allows for a much more personalized interaction. Like, imagine calling your insurer and they already have a sense of what you might need based on your history.
Okay, I can see how that would be incredibly valuable from a business perspective.
Yeah.
But it also makes me think about all those times I've called my insurance company and felt like just another number stuck in those frustrating phone trees. It doesn't exactly scream personalized.
You're so right. And that's another area where conversational intelligence is going to be huge things like voice biometrics.
Right? I read a little about that in the source material. Using your voice as identification, like a fingerprint.
Exactly. With voice biometrics, you could potentially verify your identity just by talking. No more passwords, no more security questions.
Now that would be a game changer. No more fumbling through those awkward security checks.
Hmm.
But let's get real for a second. This all sounds incredibly futuristic. Is this something that's actually being used right now, or is it more of a future possibility?
It's already happening, and that's what's so exciting. This isn't just some far-off concept. The source material mentioned a company called Recordia, and they're developing and implementing these AI-powered solutions right now.
Wow, Recordia. I have to check them out. But what kind of specific solutions are we talking about here? Can you give us some concrete examples?
Absolutely. One area where they're making big moves is in customer experience. We've already touched on sentiment analysis, but they're taking it even further by using AI to personalize interactions and anticipate customer needs.
Okay, so how does that actually work in practice?
Imagine this. You call your insurance company, and based on your past interactions, your purchase history, even things like your demographics, the AI has already built a surprisingly detailed profile of you. It knows your preferences, your communication style, even your risk tolerance.
So it's like having an incredibly intuitive agent who knows your history and can anticipate what you might need before you even ask.
That's a great way to put it. So instead of being routed through a generic phone tree, you're connected with the most appropriate department or agent right away. They might already have relevant information pulled up based on your profile, saving you time and frustration.
That would be amazing, especially if you're dealing with something urgent or stressful. But I have to admit, this level of personalization does make me think about the whole privacy aspect. Is it ethical for AI to be analyzing all that data? What about data security and all those concerns?
You've hit on a crucial point. The potential benefits of AI in insurance are huge, but we can't ignore the ethical considerations. Data security and privacy have to be paramount. Any use of AI needs to prioritize transparency and responsible data handling practices.
So it's about striking a balance, right?
Right.
Leveraging the power of AI while ensuring it's used ethically and responsibly.
Exactly. It's a conversation that we need to be having as a society as AI becomes more integrated into our lives. But going back to Recordia, they're not just focused on personalization, they're also using AI to tackle another major challenge in the insurance industry: fraud. And they're not just looking at individual cases, they're using AI to spot larger patterns and anomalies that might indicate organized fraud rings or even systemic issues within the industry itself.
Whoa, so they're going beyond just catching fraudsters after the fact. They're trying
Yeah.
to prevent it from happening in the first place.
Precisely. Think of it like this. They're analyzing massive data sets, claims data, customer interactions, even external factors like weather patterns or economic trends to identify potential vulnerabilities and proactively mitigate risks. It's like having a detective who can connect the dots and see the bigger picture that humans might miss.
It's incredible to think about the sheer scale of data analysis involved. This wouldn't even be possible without AI's ability to process and make sense of such huge amounts of information. It's a whole other level of intelligence at work.
Exactly. And this is where machine learning comes in, which is a key component of AI. It's the ability of algorithms to learn from data and improve their performance over time without being explicitly programmed.
So the more data the AI analyzes, the better it gets at identifying those subtle patterns and making more accurate predictions.
Exactly. It's like training a detective. The more experience they have, the sharper their instincts become. And in this case, the detective is an AI system that never sleeps and can analyze data at an incredible speed and scale.
That's both impressive and a little bit intimidating at the same time. But it sounds like AI is really changing the game for insurance companies when it comes to fraud prevention and risk assessment.
It definitely is. And it's not just about protecting the insurance company either. By preventing fraud and mitigating risks, they can potentially keep premiums lower for everyone.
Right, because ultimately the cost of fraud is passed down to the consumer. It's fascinating how all these different pieces fit together. But before we get into the economic implications, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier about Recordia making waves in another area. What was that again? You were about to say something about another area where Recordia is making a big impact. Something about compliance, right?
Yes, exactly. We were talking about GDPR earlier and how important it is for insurers to protect customer data, right? Well, this is where Recordia is using AI in a really innovative way.
Okay, so we talked about anonymization, but how does that actually work in a practical sense?
Okay, picture this. A customer calls with a complaint, right? The call's recorded, maybe transcribed, and then potentially analyzed by AI to find ways to improve the customer service process.
Right, that makes sense. It's valuable data for training purposes, or just understanding common issues customers face.
Exactly. But here's the thing. That recording, that transcript, it could have personal info about the customer that the company's not supposed to use for training without their permission.
Ah, I see. So it's about making sure they're using the data only for the reason it was collected in the first place.
Exactly. And that's where AI comes in. Recordia's system can automatically find and redact any sensitive data in those recordings and transcripts, so only the relevant stuff is accessible for training or quality control.
So like a manager who's reviewing a call to coach an agent wouldn't see the customer's personal details.
Exactly. The AI creates this layer of privacy protection so the company can use the data responsibly without putting the customer's confidentiality at risk.
That's really smart. They've really considered the ethical side of AI here.
They have. And that's becoming more and more important, not just in insurance, but everywhere AI is being used.
It makes you realize AI isn't just about like smarter algorithms. It's about using those algorithms ethically, especially with something as sensitive as personal data.
100%. It needs a shift in how we think about these things, not just for tech people, but for business leaders, policymakers, all of us, really.
I agree. It's on all of us to make sure this technology is used for good.
Right. And it comes back to something we touched on earlier, AI making insurance more human, not less.
Because, I admit, on the surface, it seems counterintuitive, right? We hear about AI replacing jobs, especially in fields like insurance, with all the data analysis involved.
Right, exactly. But what if, instead of replacing us, AI takes over those tedious, repetitive parts of the job and lets us focus on the things that need uniquely human skills, like empathy, creativity, the stuff AI can't replicate.
So in insurance, that could mean AI handles data entry, claims processing, even parts of risk assessment, leaving human agents free to build relationships with customers, give personalized advice, really understand their needs, be more human.
Yes. It's about shifting from just transactions to actual relationships, where tech helps human agents be more present, more understanding, more helpful.
That's a vision for the future of insurance.
Yeah.
I think we can all get behind. Not replacing human connection, but
Yeah.
using tech to make it stronger.
Exactly. And that's a message we need to be hearing more of, not just in insurance, but across the board, right? Finding the right way for humans and tech to work together.
Beautifully put. Well, I think it's safe to say we've done a deep dive today. We've explored the challenges, the ways AI is being used to solve them, and the impact it's all having on the human side of things.
Absolutely. And it highlights how important it is to approach AI with curiosity, but also a healthy dose of okay, but what about the ethics of it all?
Couldn't agree more. And for anyone listening who's keen to explore this further, definitely check out Recordia. They're pioneers in this space, and their website is a goldmine of information.
Totally agree. They're the ones to watch in this field.
Absolutely. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and we'll catch you next time for another fascinating topic.